Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be having a look at FlareAIO. In my opinion, it is one of the best AIO EU bots you can actually buy. Like, your money can actually get you. This bot is insane. They claim to support around 33 sites, and it's literally every site is working. They have none locked at the moment. However, they probably should, because they're going to get some of their stuff clipped if people overuse it. I mean, this is a CLI bot. They have a GUI on the way. Footsites coming up soon. It costs about £1,500, and yeah, this video I'm essentially going to explain to you why this is the true best EU bot and why it is. It really is. It changes the name of an AIO because what it can do is pretty incredible. So having a look at the interface right now, this is just a normal CLI interface. So we can see this is the version I'm running, and it's CLI. GUI, they did release it, however there was lots of errors and it was very buggy on version 3 release. However, on version hopefully 3.5, GUI will hopefully be fixed. It will probably go up in value a lot, but CLI for me, I'm a fan and it works well, so I'm not going to change if they do release GUI. Now looking down here, we can see PX usage and Akamai usage. This is the amount of PX cookies and Akamai cookies that you're using, because you do, I believe, have like a weekly limit or a daily limit or something. That's just because they don't want you going too crazy and just kind of getting the bot clipped. But with those limits there, they've definitely given you enough. You have enough cookies there to run for restocks and do anything you need to do. So looking down here, it is a number CLI selection. So we don't use arrow keys. We literally just put in the number. So if we want to launch tasks, press 1, press enter, and this will take us to all of the task CSVs that we have. Now, I just downloaded all their pre-made ones, and I have filled a few in, but this can give you an idea of how many sites there actually are. Obviously, there's a few, because I've copied a few here. You can see I've got a copy there, copy there, copy there. But officially on their site status, I believe there are around 33. Some are in beta, but there are 33 sites that are available. Mesh is a bit buggy, so not everyone has that as well. But when Mesh comes soon, that is going to be huge. That is Mesh backend, by the way, because Mesh frontend is working, but we'll get into that. So now I'm just going to go back off this page. I'm just going to type in 42 and enter, and we get back to the main page. And you can also see we have account generators. Now, if I press 2 and enter, we can generate accounts for all these different sites. Now, some of these are sites you do need accounts for, like Korea, but some of these sites you don't need accounts for. But it's good to have the account generator in here for stuff like Korea, just so you can generate the account before a drop. But for snipes, for example, you don't always need an account. That is just if you are running in an account-only mode. But it's nice to have the generator in there. So moving along, we have the manual recapture harvester. On a bot like this, you're rarely solving captures manually, so I'm not really sure when you would use that. But say you wanted to solve captures manually and harvest them, you can do that. You also have your recapture bank. However, these quick tasks here, I think these are very interesting. Now, as you can see here, we have quick tasks and then monitor quick tasks. So the difference between these is with quick tasks is if I press 5, this will, here we go. You have to input a URL. So I could have this open in the back of my computer all day, and when a bot drops, I can just copy and paste this in, and it will run my quick task default settings, and it will run for that site as long as Flare supports it. Now, if I press exit, that's a really good way to run if you just need to be quick, you don't have time to set up your folders. As long as your quick task folder is decent, you have maybe some DC proxies in there or some good resis, you can just chuck a link in there if they restock anything from Footsites to ASOS, and yeah, you're pretty much good to go instantly. It's very similar with monitor quick tasks, but this time it's just if you click on a link in a Discord connected to a Flare quick task link monitor thing. So when you press on the Discord and it says like Flare, it'll then just instantly start here running for that item, and that's just how they work. They basically just wait for an input and they'll run. Then you have configure settings and analytics. Now, you don't need to see analytics because I've done a few test checkouts. To be fair, I have only got a weekly, and I have managed to hit around, pairs that I've properly checked out, I think 3. And considering I haven't actually fully ran this bot, that's decent. I managed to hit 2 like price error on JD, and they're the ones that didn't get cancelled. And I also managed to hit a mid on SNS, but I was only running like 50 tasks for 2 minutes. So yeah, only wanted 1 just to see how good it was. But yeah, this bot with very little effort in getting 3 pairs, yeah, I'm happy. Now, if we go into configure settings, this is when you'll see, really very, very simple settings. So this is just where you put in webhook, to capture, anti-capture, cap monster, auto solve, all that stuff. You can also change your delay. So at the bottom here with modify recapture method and modify hcapture method, this just changes which of your capture solvers here, which kind of service you're using solves them. So you can just change whether to capture solves recapture and maybe anti-capture solve hcapture. I don't know if you'd want to do that. You can change that all in there though. And then to go back, we just press 9. Now, I'm actually going to jump into the actual files of the bot because I think that's where it gets much more interesting and you can see a lot more of its unique features. So this is what the config of the bot looks like, and you can see I do have a lot of CSVs in here, and this is because I've kind of downloaded their pre-made tasks that just show you a few things in it. Now, first of all, you'll see a file in here that will not work, JD backend. If it does not have tasks underscore or the word tasks in it, that folder or that CSV file will not be recognized by the bot. So you can see I do have a task called JD backend in there. However, when I went back to start tasks, it will not, you won't see that. It has to have tasks in it from what I've seen. So I'm actually going to delete that folder because I don't need it. So going down, we can have a look. And there are, loads in here. Obviously, I've copied a few. That's because on some I'm running DC and some on Resi when a few drops have happened. So I'm going to have a look at my foot asylum tasks because these are very interesting. Here are the really interesting things about this bot that I love. And it is essentially this mode feature. Not many other bots or not many other EU CLI bots actually have different modes for stuff. A lot of the time it'll just be put the link in, put the PID in, put the SKU in and run. However, Flare has, for quite a few different sites, they have different modes, and this is perfect because on a lot of these EU sites, sometimes you're running for restocks and then sometimes you're running for a drop. And having the bot run the same for each isn't actually that good. So having the different modes, so actually the bot realizing that they are two different things, I think is really good. So as you can see here, I'm running mainly risky mode with a few safes in there as they advise to on their guide. And it's worked pretty well for me. I managed to get one pair from Foot Asylum, and that's what I was looking for, just to see if it did actually work. But yeah, so let's have a look through this. So you can put in the store here, and then obviously the mode. Now, not every store does have different modes, only if they say, which you can all see in their written guide. Now, you can also put in the URL, PID, or SKU. As you can see here, I've gone with the URL. You can also have keywords, which you honestly don't see in EU bots. I've never seen an EU bot that searches for keywords before, so that's quite interesting. Maybe that'll only work for certain sites. You can then also have the size. This is the classic stuff. You can put in random. As you can see, I've got a size range in there. Again, very simple stuff. Now, the reason you'll see a lot of these are empty is because you don't actually need to fill these in for each site. So this is just kind of a template that they use, but doesn't need to be present in every site. But it's kind of good practice to have it in every single one, right? So on region, this will be only used on sites where there are different regions. And also you see currency back here. That will only be used on sites like ASOS, where the currency actually matters that you're paying in. My profiles here, I've chucked in the same one, but we'll get to profiles later. Now, to have the ability to set proxy files is really good because it means if I did want to run certain tasks on a DC, for example, dc.txt, I can actually set that. So instead of being all in, all out, you can actually be really specific on which proxies tasks are using, which I think is really, really good. You also have payment, and again, it's the usual CC, credit card, PP, PayPal. Yep, simple stuff. Now, if I move along the bottom here, these are just stuff that you'll be using in other tasks, such as bank code, currency. Now, one thing that's very interesting is having profiles, and Zonos had this, and it's honestly one of my favorite things, and I think all bots should implement it if it's a CLI bot, and I do think it is actually becoming a lot more popular. Now, a lot of this will be blurred out. However, this is essentially the ability to have a profile name in a folder, and then this is what you can refer back to. So this makes it so easy for me. In other bots, you have to write out all your addresses and stuff over and over again. However, just with the idea of a profile, you can just link back to it. In GUI bots, this is standard, right? You wouldn't think twice about it. However, in CLI bots, the idea of profiles isn't actually fully implemented in quite a few bots. So to actually get profiles, it's quite good. Now, it's not as significant as Zonos is because you can't have different webhooks for different profiles. But overall, I'm not complaining with having profiles. I love using profiles. They're very handy because it makes jigging it. You really have to do it once and then you can just refer back to that again. So I think the main thing with Flare that you're all thinking about is that it seems just quite a standard good bot, but what is its standout feature? And a standout feature is quite weird. For me, it's the fact that it's consistent on just loads of sites. Again, it has a massive site list, as you can see here, and it just does generally really, really well on these sites. Again, I've ran for a few of these and I've just got pairs. I mean, nothing huge, right? 3 pairs. But that's me with, having this bot for a week, being pretty washed, all things considered, and also not putting that much effort in. I was running 50 tasks on some resis on SNS and managed to get a checkout. So, yeah, the bot just seems very, very easy to get success with. So, could it be a starter bot? Potentially. I do know a guy who has got this as his first bot and has done very well out of it. So, if you're prepared and you want to get into botting and want to put 1.5k on the table or somewhere around that just on a bot, and you want to actually do well and, see success, you have to consider Flare because, Flare has been a top bot for a long time. It's definitely got a name, it's got a reputation, and from using it on this week, it has been incredible. Looking at this list of CSVs here, you can see there is Hibbert stores, and this brings me on to the fact that coming soon to Flare, they are actually releasing footsites. Now, this is extremely interesting because what does this mean for the future of the bot? If this becomes an incredible footsites bot, which, looking at their success with implementing new sites and their success, it probably will be decent if they are going to add it. What does this mean for the user base, right? Because first of all, you can't really rent FlareAIO. It's not super rental friendly, and I don't believe they actually allow that. So US people can't rent it. Are they going to buy it just for the footsites module? Imagine being able to use all these other sites, but only using it for one site. It doesn't really make sense to me that people would buy it for that, right? It's almost similar to Prism. It's got a great offspring module, but no one's buying it for offspring because it's only one site out of loads of others. So are US people going to buy this bot just for a footsites module when, you know, realistically, that's not what the bot's actually made for? Now, I do find this weird. Is this just done to pump up the resale value? Maybe. I don't think it is. I think the developers just got bored and wanted to expand outwards and kind of experience something new. Again, footsites, huge stock is there. You do have the potential to actually get an insane amount of pairs. Why did they add it? I'm not too sure. It's a pretty much all EU user base, and the only reason I could think why someone in the EU would use this is if it was a big release and they could reship it, or maybe they're running slots for people. That's it. So it's definitely going to be weird how that pans out. What's that going to mean for the future of the bot? Is it going to become more of a US bot? I mean, it's such a good EU bot. What are they doing? But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. You can see right now I'm in the JD Sports CSV file, and this is the JD Sports tasks. Now, as of now, they have mesh front end available to everyone using the bot. However, backend isn't available. I think the release of backend should be coming in the 3.5 update and will be pretty significant. Flare probably will soon become one of the top mesh bots, as along with also one of the top offspring bots, SNS bots. You know, these sites, it kind of implements a site, we'll work on it a while, and then we'll just become at the top level. Now, with offspring, it has been a little bit inconsistent. However, there are announcements coming soon of new features coming into offspring. I don't want to say too much, because obviously I don't know actually how much I'm allowed to say, but it will be very, very interesting seeing, you know, where this bot will be in 6 months. Now, one thing that is very cool in the CSV file is having this delay option over here. This means I can actually have multiple different delays within my bot. So if I wanted to run a few tasks on a 3 delay, and then a few tasks on a 2 delay, I can, and this will overwrite the current bot settings. I think this is a genius idea. Again, this should be in all CLI EU bots. It is brilliant. Small features like this, you'll see, they're very small, but honestly, I think they are very significant because it's really handy. So if you're buying Flare, you know, what is the best setup for you? So Flare actually offer a few different kind of copies of the bot. It's a bit weird. So you have Flare Lifetime, and this obviously is a lifetime copy of AIO. However, they also have Flare Raffles, and this is one of kind of the top raffle bots. It's not as crazy as the FlareAIO in resale wise. It pretty much sells for about retail on the secondary market. But yeah, with Lifetime, you also get a lifetime copy of that as well. So it's kind of like the Flare bots ultimate bundle. I think that's quite cool. With the actual AIO, there are 2 copies you can get. You can get a monthly renewal, where it's around 30 or 25 euros a month. And then you can also get a normal renewal copy, where it bills you every 6 months. It just depends what you prefer, really. The monthlies are the cheapest, but obviously probably the most expensive. You then also have the 6-month renewal, which is, you know, kind of the standard, and it's also what I prefer because I just hate getting monthly charges. And then obviously the lifetime is the top, does go for a lot more money, and it is significantly higher than the others, but obviously you have no renewal and you also have access to raffles. Again, it just depends what you want. For the full EU package, it might not be a bad idea to buy Flare Lifetime. Having the ability to have access to raffles is huge. You could just buy that as your first bot, have access to raffles as well as a great AIO bot. And yeah, you'll be doing pretty well for yourself if you've got a setup like that. So in every bot now, I'm starting to actually look at their checkout sound. And I did find this in their config file, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a play and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 10. It doesn't have the high-pitched triangle ting of Prism, but it's got a bit more of a ka-ching sound to it. It's not perfect, so yeah, I'm going to give it a 5/6 out of 10 because it's in the right direction. It's still not something that you hear and will totally get you gassed. It's a bit of a safe option, really, but yeah, FlareAIO checkout sound, 5.5 out of 10. But the good thing is, as always, you can actually customize that, so that's always a bonus. So as I was mentioning with proxies, you do actually have this proxies file, and this is where you can put all your TXTs and then you can link back to this. So if you have proxies, you can put in a new file, put them in here. You can split them up between all your different providers. I think this is an incredible feature. I think more bots should have this again, as I previously mentioned, especially when they introduce Footlocker EU, which should be coming soon, to be able to split your tasks between different providers in a CLI bot. Yeah, I think that'll be very, very useful. And again, with this bot, it's the small stuff that will make the really big differences, and really is why it's so expensive. It gets pairs, it's easy to use, because it has small features like this that make it easier for the user. So that's kind of my overall opinion on Flare. It's got a big reputation behind it. It's been going for quite a while. They've got a fairly big user base. They do really well on releases. Flare have an incredible site list, and they consistently hit with that site list as well. I'd love to get my hands on a copy. You can see people's success with this. The Lucky Botter, he's done very well with this bot on sites like BSTN. So yeah, there's so many sites that I haven't even mentioned that it does well on. What do I think the future of Flare? I think once they release mesh backend, I think that'll bring Flare really into the mesh scene. I think people will start to view it also as a mesh bot, which would be very, very good. It's already doing incredible on just general EU sites like Zalando, Offspring. These sites, it just does decent on. Again, its consistency is, you know, you can't take that away from it. That's something that you can't really compete with. It's got a very consistent user base, which is really, really good. I think the US foot sites will definitely give it an interesting stance, but I don't think it'll make too much of a difference. I don't think it'll make the resale price go up too much. If you guys have any other bots that you actually want me to review or talk about, do leave a comment in the description and I'll try to talk to the developers, get my hands on a copy, maybe a weekly. If you guys did enjoy, please do subscribe and like the video. And yeah, I'll see you in another one.